Broadcasting stations.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The weekend's almost here. It's really nice this morning. It's a little summery, but that's okay. We'll take it. It is the end of May, and we're often really starting to see what's going to happen at the PGA. Justin Thomas on the verge of really becoming a factor in this. He's at 4 under. Rory McIlroy will tee off at 1:30 today. He leads the tournament at 5 under. He'll be playing with Jordan Spieth, who didn't play so well yesterday, and Tiger Woods, who, J-Mo, how do I put this? Is this the beginning of the end? Now, you can make a case the beginning of the end came in Los Angeles when his Genesis car went off the road. That might have been the beginning of the end. But, you know, he came back. He's overcome so many things. All the injuries he's overcome, the sex scandal that he overcame. You can go back. There's not a lot of guys, maybe nobody, according to some sports psychologists that we've had on in the past, who said guys like Tiger Woods can't overcome public shame. He overcame public shame. He did it. He won his 15th major. He won another green jacket at Augusta 2 years ago. That told you what you could overcome. And yesterday it looked like, whoa, he's 2 under through 5 holes. He's going to compete for this. He's certainly going to make the cut. Then there was one swing, J-Mo, one swing. And you could see him in pain, and then he was limping. And he said it hurts to walk. It hurts to twist. It's golf. Hurting to play golf. When you say that, and that's the reason that you went from 2 under to 4 over, a swing of 6 strokes and 13 holes, and find yourself desperate to try to make the cut today, maybe it's too much, even for the great Tiger Woods. Physically, he said he was stronger, but obviously the strain on the leg in competition when you really got to use every part of your body, maybe it's just too much, because clearly he was hurt yesterday. You could see him limping.
And maybe this is revisionist history or something, or maybe it's just hindsight, but I think he looked kind of – it was a little ginger on it when he was – before even, like, the swing you're talking about where he got hurt. He wasn't, I mean, I guess he hasn't swung with full force in a long time, but he was definitely a little ginger, at least in my mind, before that swing as well.
Well, those first 5 holes, he looked pretty good.
Oh, he's certainly scoring well.
It was right after that second birdie where I don't know if this is the one you're referring to, because this is not where he hurt himself, but he's got that patented stinger that he uses a 2-iron for, and he pushed it way right. Some people said it was a near shank.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the one I'm talking about, where he just didn't look quite right.
Something was off on that.
Yeah.
That looked like a Jordan Spieth shot, because he usually does that in the middle of a round somewhere.
Who also shanked one right yesterday. A near shank, I guess is what you should call it.
Somehow the club face gets sort of stuck behind, and it when it comes into the ball, it's wide open, or can go off the heel, or what. It's just way off. And I don't know what Tiger was doing then, but 3 players, multiple shots under par today. They are Neiman, Lowry, and Kisner. So here's Joaquin Neiman. He did not play well last week. I watched him.
Choked it away.
Yeah. And it's Friday, right? I mean, let's not go crazy. It's Friday, but you're going to see some things. Maybe this is it's time for Justin Thomas to win again in a major. Maybe it's Rory to break the drought that he's had. He hasn't won a major since, I think it's 2014.
He's been playing well too, though. Remember that? What tournament did he chip? Oh, that was the teammate tournament where they, where they're playing
teams.
Was it when he chipped? Remember, he chipped in from the bunker on something, and whoever he was playing with that day also chipped in from the same bunker on 18.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
What was that? I can't remember what tournament. That wasn't the Masters.
Yeah, that was the teams. Was that?
No. My memory isn't served me well enough to remember, but I just remember.
You know what? That may have been Augusta. And was that Colin Morikawa?
It was Morikawa he was playing with, but I can't remember if it was Augusta or not.
I think it was Augusta.
No, but he's been playing good golf, though, is my point. And this is a course this week, at least it seemed in my mind. Strokes gained off the tee was important, and strokes gained around the green was important. Joaquin Niemann, who's playing well today, ranks really well in those categories. So does Justin Thomas. And Rory, who played well yesterday, does as well. So those guys are really scoring well.
Is it fair to call Will Zalatoris a dark horse guy?
He's been playing well for a while, though. But in terms of a major championship, he still has a ways to go, but he has been scoring well. I would say it's a dark horse. Have we seen him play like a weekend round that wins you a tournament?
Well, he plays well in majors. He certainly plays well at Augusta. I don't know. But the skinny one will tee off right before Tiger, Rory, and Jordan Spieth, and he is at 4 under. John Daly finished yesterday at 2 over. He tees off 12:25 today.
Spent the night at the slots.
Did you see a picture of that?
Oh, I saw a picture of it.
Somebody reported. Who was it? He smoked 21 cigarettes and had, 12 Diet Cokes or something?
Certain amount, 8, 12, certain amount of Diet Cokes, 0 glasses of water in that whole stretch.
What is wrong with him?
And then spent the night at the slots. That's my kind of guy, honestly.
How late was he at the slots?
That's a good question.
Well, he didn't have a tee time till 12:25.
That's right. He had a late tee time.
But he's old. He's in his 50s, for goodness sake. He can't do what he used to do.
He's resting on his laurels, you might say.
At the slots, was there anything in those Diet Cokes he was drinking?
At the slots, certainly might have had some, a little bit in those Diet Cokes. Some vodka, maybe.
How about Kuchar? You know, I almost picked him as my dark horse because he's in the 50s or 60s maybe in the world golf ratings, and he's played well of late. Is this a bad thing for me to still hold Kuchar in contempt for what he did in Mexico to that caddy?
Stiff the caddy.
How cheap can you be? He was already making money on those Sketcher ads, and he's made a bunch of money. How could you not give the 10% you're supposed to? And he never gave the 10%. He ended up giving him a decent amount of money, but not the normal rate.
And he defended himself after the fact, right? After the PR was bad, he tried to defend himself.
He blew that PR. Like, if he had a PR agency, he did exactly the wrong thing, right? I think he got one after that said, all right, I better give him some money and say I'm an idiot.
That's right.
Which is what he did. I don't know. I still hold him in contempt for that. It's hard for me to get past that. Really is. Xander Schauffele at 2 under. I'd take a good hard look in him. That was Ted Butler's guy. We'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this weekend. This could be Rory's time. It could be Justin Thomas's time. Who knows? Or somebody from out of nowhere. Like usually PGAs are won by guys you don't really know that much about. Or I shouldn't say usually. A lot of times. And this could be the time for Will Zalatoris, who's played well in a couple of other majors for sure. Program note, and you'll love this one, J-Mo. Program note. On Monday, right at the top, before we do medals or anything else, or even hardly go over the weekend, we'll do a little of that. But on Monday, there is one human being who has coached with both Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. His name, a former regular contributor to this program, is John Thompson. John Thompson is going to join us to talk about the feud between Fisher and Saban. That'll be Monday morning right off the bat. I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. A reminder, the Vacation at Home sale continues on at least through the end of this month, and then who knows what they're going to cook up for the month of June. But it's all part of this philosophy where since the pandemic, we are spending time with our families in our backyard. So you make that extra space outside, now part of your house with those outdoor kitchens and everything else. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, you can save some money. Hot tubs in stock. If you pick it up, $1,000 off if you're really a do-it-yourself guy. And you got a hankering for an above-ground swimming pool, you can save $1,500 on all the in-stock pools if you pick up the pool and then install it yourself. $1,500 off what is already a sales price for the Vacation at Home sale at Family Leisure. Also, we'll let you know our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, where you'll never pay more than sticker price on any new car. They're getting more new cars in all the time. And this is the pledge from Chris True, the general manager. Some dealerships, well, they're taking advantage of the laws of supply and demand. I get it. They don't do that. That's why they always get repeat business. They take care of their customers at Homer Skelton Hyundai at the corner of Craft Road, first exit in Mississippi, and Highway 78, Lamar in Memphis. You go there, you'll never pay more than sticker price on any new car at Homer Skelton Hyundai. To Louisville, Kentucky, we go. Our friend, the voice of the Louisville Cardinals, and our analyst for the Triple Crown, that would be Paul Rogers, who did not have Rich Strike in his Derby combinations. He did mention him, though. I give you credit for that, Paul. You said there was a scratch and this horse was coming in.
I mentioned he got in the field, and that's about the only mention he got from me or anybody else. What a shocker that was. But it was fun to watch.
We love storylines, right? We love Hollywood tales. And this one is that. I mean, the guy gets in, they say 30 seconds before the eligibility deadline, because the one horse scratches, he's allowed to get in, just gets in. He's a $30,000 claiming horse. He's got a rookie, as far as the Derby goes, jockey, who's a little like Pat Day. People bet him over the horse, this guy. And out of nowhere, because of a fast pace, I guess I'm going to ask you that, but because of a fast pace, it allowed a finisher like this horse, to win the Derby.
Certainly the fast pace contributed to it. There's no denying that. But I'm telling you, Dave, I've seen over 50 derbies, and years from now we'll debate, memories and what's memorable and what's not. But I got to tell you, it's probably the most dramatic derby I've seen for so many reasons. One, you just mentioned them, the unknown horse who barely made it in the field with an unknown jockey and an unknown trainer, and a horse with an incredible run and a jockey with an incredibly bold ride to get him there. You can go back to recent big prices like Mind That Bird and Giacomo, who are both 50 to 1.
Yeah.
But at least in Giacomo's case, he had a very respected rider in Mike Smith and trainer and John Sheriffs. Mind That Bird had a highly respected rider and a great Churchill Downs rider in Calvin Burrell. But this just came so out of the clouds. Nobody saw this coming. And when you watch it, it's no fluke. I mean, this horse had a tremendous run to him, a tremendous kick, weaved through traffic, and as I said, a very bold ride by the jockey who just let him run and said, we're going to get around these guys somehow. And he did. So it was a really great story. I didn't win money, and I don't know many people who did win money, but I didn't hear anybody complaining. No,
I love, I've been talking about it. It just leaves the possibilities open for anything, because all you got to do is go, remember Rich Strike at the Derby 80 to 1. So anything can happen, but no Rich Strike in the Preakness. And that saddens me. Because when he won the Derby, it sounded like he was going to run in all three races, and then they rethought it. This is not a short race. It's a 1 1/4. It's literally 110 yards shorter than the Kentucky Derby. But everybody, over the years, we've had, of recent times, a couple of Triple Crown winners. There was that drought for 40 years, and everybody said in today's modern era, it's just too hard to race 3 times in 5 weeks, and you can't do it. And that's exactly what the trainer and everybody in the Rich Strike camp is saying, that they want to go with the regular routine. Does this make you rethink the way the Triple Crown is run?
This has been talked about practically as long as I can remember, especially in the years up before American Pharoah finally broke the drought. And there's 2 schools of thought, and I have to tell you, I was once an old school guy and still am mostly, but I'm leaning a little bit in the other way for this reason. Initially, it's not supposed to be easy. It's such a whimsical series of races, not evenly spaced, different distances, different tracks. it's a Herculean task to run in, much less win those 3 races. So it's not supposed to be easy. So I'm not for cheapening the Triple Crown, so to speak. On the other hand, if you go back, every sport has altered, revised, changed the rules to change with the times. Baseball, the designated hitter. Basketball, a three-point shot, just for a couple of obvious examples. So who's to say you couldn't revise the Triple Crown? As I said, I'm not totally in this camp yet, but I'm giving it some thought. And here's one pro argument for it. If you space the races out a month apart, you'd probably get stronger fields in each one. More Derby horses would come back. More Preakness horses would come back. So the challenge of winning those 3 races would still be just as great. So I'm beginning to give that some thought. I have not in the past, but I'm starting to see the advantages of doing that. In Rich Strike's case, he normally works about every 10 days as opposed to a lot of horses who work every week. So to race 14 days after the Derby, if you put in a tough work 10 days away, you're just 4 days after the Preakness. It just totally would upset his routine and timing. So I can understand the trainer's thinking, and you've got to put the horse first, and I think that's what he did.
I am not an insider. I'm an outside observer. Normally, I am, like you, old school purist. If it's been done this way since the 1800s, by golly, that's the true test that it is. But if it would help the sport, and I like your idea of 1 a month, so you'd be getting 3 to 4 weeks rest each time, and it would actually promote racing better, in my estimation, because instead of in a 5-week period, you get this real interest of all of America that loves horse racing, that only loves horse racing for those 5 weeks. You'd get them for 3 months. I think it would help the sport just to be marketed better if you did it that way. It just makes so much sense, and you'd get all the great horses, all the 3-year-olds to partake in every race, unless one was clearly outclassed.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the advantage of it. It spaces them out, which you might say, oh, that makes it easier for a horse. But again, if you're running against those best horses each and every race, as opposed to the Preakness, let's face it, it's got Epicenter, who was darn near the Derby winner, and he's in here. But you don't have much other than him. You have an intriguing storyline with Secret Oath, the Oaks winner, trained by Wayne Lucas, coming back to try the boys here in this race. So there's some intrigue to it, but it's not of the magnitude if you had half or so of the Derby field coming back to try it again, and if they stayed healthy, another month later, moving on to try the Belmont. So I'm, as I said, I could be convinced. I think I could be convinced to change it, but it's going to be a long time for that. Well, maybe not. It's not going to happen next year, but it might happen within the next 10 years.
Maybe if it helps the industry as a whole, I guess that I would be for it. All right, let's get to the Preakness tomorrow in Pimlico, and there are only 9 horses here. You mentioned 50-1 shots. The longest horse in this race is a horse named Fenwick, 50-1. I'm almost willing to try just because of what happened with Rich Strike.
Well, I'm not going to say you can't, but it would be. I'll say this for Rich Strike. While he had never done anything especially noteworthy, he had been pretty consistent. I mean, he had not been beaten bad in races. And his only race at Churchill Downs, by the way, I don't know if you went back and check this. He raced once at Churchill Downs, broke his maiden that day, and won by 17 lengths last year. In fact, that was his only win. But he was a consistently decent performer. Fenwick broke his maiden and then came back and was drilled by 35 lengths on the Bluegrass Stakes. So I can't give him a serious look. If I had to go for a bit of a price, I'd take a look at Creative Minister. He's 10-1. He's trained by Ken McPeak, who's known to pull off some big price winners in big races. He is an improving horse and looks to be quite good, but can he make the jump from a good allowance race into a Grade 1 race? That's the leap you have to take, but he's shown some ability, so he would be my one pricey horse that I would throw in here if I was looking to do that.
All right, so Creative Minister is coming out of the 2-hole. When you only have 9 horses, so you're going from 20 in the Derby to 9 here, does post position matter much?
No, not in my opinion. I don't really think it does, and particularly with his style, he's sort of a mid-pack to back runner. There's really only one true speed horse in here, and that's Early Voting, who was a close second in the Wood Memorial. And Chad Brown, I can't get the frog out of my throat. There was some talk of him in the Derby, but pretty much all along, Chad Brown sounded hesitant of running in the Derby and holding him to the Preakness. And when he holds a horse out for a race to point for another race, you can usually take a pretty serious look at that horse. And he should be the speed of this race. He should be in front. And if it's an uncontested lead, that's always dangerous.
The filly that won the Oaks, is she serious?
Secret Oath. Yeah. She was third in the Arkansas Derby against the boys and had a very wide trip. Now, Wayne Lucas says she was much the best and should have won. I would debate that. But she did run a solid race against the boys, came back and was an impressive winner in the Oaks. And that was a real feel-good story with Lucas, being 86 years old now, I think.
Right.
And it was his scratch of Ethereal Road the day before that allowed Red Strike to get in the Derby, and then he wins the Oaks. Yeah, she's a serious contender. It would not shock me at all if she were to win this race.
Early line, she's 9-2. Epicenter, the big one, he's 6-5. I mean, everybody's putting their money, I think, on this horse that really did perform well and was taken by surprise down the stretch at Churchill Downs.
Yep, you're right on it there. I think he probably thought he won the race or was going to win the race. He finished sixth in his first race, and since then he's been either first or second, beaten by less than a length. And he looked like the Derby winner. And I'm sure coming down the stretch, Joe Rosario thought he was going to win it if he could hold off Sanded, which he did. And in the meantime, while that occupied on the outside, up came Rich Strike out of nowhere and zipped right by him. Had it been one of those things where Rich Strike came up more slowly on his outside, he might have fought him off and won. Who knows? Plus, he still did have the lead, a 16th of a mile from the finish of the Derby, which is the distance of this race. So there's a lot to like about Epicenter. It's hard to not make him the favorite.
All right. Tell me how this race is going to go.
Well, I'll pick Epicenter to win it. I think early voting will be the pace setter. I'm having a hard time deciding what to do with Secret Oath. I would pick it Epicenter, early voting, Secret Oath, except I want to put one pricey horse in there, so I'm going to throw out early voting and put in Creative Minister as my third place horse. And then if I had to go 4 deep in a 9-horse field, I would pick Simplification. He ran a pretty solid race in the Derby. He's been very consistent throughout his career.
Yeah, I wondered about Simplification. He hadn't really mentioned it. So Epicenter, who's your 2 horse again?
What did I just say? Epicenter. Did I say? I go back and forth. Did I say early voting?
I think you
early
did.
Voting.
Epicenter, early voting, Secret Oath, and then Simplification. Okay.
Yeah.
And you might throw Creative Minister in there. If you did, you would throw out early voting. Is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I did. I'm sorry, you're right. I did throw him in just because I wanted a good price in there.
Yeah. Creative Minister, somewhere second or third, huh?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Sounds good. We'll chat with you, I guess, in 3 weeks. Last question, and I know I'm running behind here, but this intrigues me. What do you do with Rich Strike at the Belmont? I mean, he was 80-1. He's obviously not going to be 80-1, but will that horse be the favorite?
I don't think he'll be the favorite. I think it's just hard to make that case when you were that big a price. People are going to look at it as a fluke. I don't think it was a fluky race. Maybe it was his best ever, and he won't be able to live up to that. But I think you have to contend with him. I mean, he looks strong. He's bred to go long. I don't think he will be the favorite. Obviously, we'll see what happens in this race and down the road. But I think he'll be somewhere in the 5-1, 8-1 range, something like that, I would guess.
All right. Enjoy the race. Enjoy the PGA, because I know you love golf, and we'll chat in a few weeks.
Oh, yeah. Okay, see you, Dave.
Thank you. That is Paul Rogers, our analyst. On the Triple Crown, the voice of the Louisville Cardinals. He's brought to you in part by Grind City Brewing and that wonderful Pilsner called Poppy's. Poppy's Pills. That's just what the doctor ordered, especially on a hot day. If you're playing golf this afternoon, you want to end your round in a great way, you get the light, crisp, and refreshing Pilsner made here in Memphis at this wonderful brewery called Grind City. Oh, yeah. It's the best. It's ultra crushable. It's built for speed. It's best served ice cold. And on a hot day, there's nothing better. It's refreshing. It's local. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than what the doctor will order you. That's the Pilsner. That's Poppy's Pills from Grind City Brewing. And speaking of golf, Today's a good day to go play Miramichi. Every day is a good day to head north of downtown about 10 to 12 minutes in Woodstock. 330 acres of absolute natural beauty, 7,400 yards of championship golf if you're at that level. But there's different tee boxes. I like the 6,300. There's one about 5,500. You will find the right one for you. And know that the back nine is like taking a walk in the woods with a meandering stream and just this calm and tranquility that you'll love, that you won't find at many other golf courses. Golf Week says if you're playing golf in Tennessee, this is one of the best golf courses you can play. I agree. And every round comes with complimentary range balls and a cart. All included. You can play today for as little as $50. Just head to Woodstock and see what I'm talking about. You'll love Miramichi. We'll pause for a second. When we come back, as we always do on Fridays, we've got first, Jason Munn's update on what's going on with the Tigers. You wrote a nice piece this week, too, on the Mid-South Coliseum, what to do with that. And then we will chat with Andy Schiffman to end the week on the NBA playoffs. We are in full swing on Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hey everybody, our friends at All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch just announced they have openings for experienced professional sales consultants to come aboard and join the All-Star team. You may have heard how great it is to be a part of the All-Star Chevrolet sales team in Olive Branch. And you know why? Because All-Star Chevrolet is family-owned and has been for over 31 years. Sales consultants have the opportunity to earn up to 40% commission selling new and used vehicles and so many other benefits like paid vacations, 401k, health, dental, and vision insurance, and have every Sunday off. Apply in person or send your resume to All-Star Chevrolet at 7240 Kraft Goodman Road in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Remember, it's not the Pike, not Southaven, not Mount Moriah, Bartlett, or Collierville. Find new roads to All-Star Chevrolet in Olive Branch. And send your resume to All-Star Chevrolet at 7240 Kraft Goodman Road, Olive Branch, Mississippi. Call ahead for an appointment with Kevin Smith if that works for you. 662-895-5536. Or go to allstarautogroup.com.
Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
If you have damage to your home and have your insurance carrier involved, you need a great contractor. You also need a team that has seen claims of all shapes and sizes, residential or commercial. After our inspection, we'll share our findings and give you our professional opinion. Some people say you get what you pay for. However, our opinion is free. Trust the name you can depend on, like the tens of thousands of families Brian and I have served over the past 20 years here in the Mid-South. Brian Elder Roofing. We'll measure your roof from outer space and share our team's experience for your property and claim. Repaired roofs, replacement roofs, big roofs, tiny roofs, insurance roofs, flat roofs, TPO roofs, asphalt roofs, tile roofs, slate roofs, metal roofs. If your roof needs some love, call me, 901-867-0303 for Brian Elder Roofing and Contracting.
Call 867-0303. Brian Elder's Roofing Solutions.
The NBA playoffs is the world's greatest celebration of basketball. Hennessy champions the moves players are making on and off the court because true greatness is making a long-term impact on your community. Make moves that start movements. Hennessy, the spirit of the NBA. Please enjoy Hennessy responsibly.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Jason Munns, who covers the Tigers like a blanket for the Commercial Appeal, will be joining us in a minute. Speaking of the Tigers, one of their greatest fans is, I think, one of the great insurance guys of all time. That's Matt Eflin and his team. They give you great value, great service without absolutely sacrificing anything. I can promise you that. Because they do things a little differently. It's called collaboration. He'll sit you down and get to know you. Matt and his team, if it's, let's say, home program, auto program, they figure out exactly what your needs are, what your budget is, what your priorities are, and then they match everything. They do the same thing with life insurance. He's got quotes from 15 different companies that he can match you with to make sure once he knows exactly where you are and what your priorities are and what your budget is, he fits you perfectly. And if you've got a need for commercial insurance, especially small to mid-sized businesses, same thing. He'll focus on what maybe your forecast is. Where do you see yourself now as opposed to 10 or 15 years from now? What's the most important assets you got to protect? What kind of money have you got to do that with? He'll make it easy for you. All you got to do is call 386-GER, because he's a Tiger fan, 901-386-4777. That's the number for the Eflin Insurance Group. As promised, always on Fridays, our good friend Jason Munz joins us now. I want to start, and so we'll get to the Tigers in a minute. But you did a very interesting piece, I thought, on the Mid-South Coliseum and what to do with that in light of what they're going to do with Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium and all the renovations there and Liberty Park and everything else that goes with it. I thought it was interesting that Mayor Strickland said something to the effect to you, we've been waiting for a while for some guy to come up with a great idea, but that guy hasn't shown up yet.
Yes, that's exactly what he said. He kind of gave an example. He was like, a la the way Billy Orgel did with a couple of projects. Somebody like him who's very creative, very civic-minded. And yes, they said that when they embarked on this Liberty Park project, the journey, they made a deal with the Coliseum Coalition people, the people who want to keep the Coliseum, they want to revive it. They made a deal to give them time to get something pulled together, and that hasn't happened yet. Now, I spoke with one of the co-founders of the Coliseum Coalition, Marvin Stockwell, and he told me that he puts together what he calls VIP tours of the building pretty regularly. Over the last 3 years, I think he said he's given over 100 of them, and that's people who come to him who may have money or may have ideas. They come to him. They say, "Hey, can we look around?" He says, "Yes." He shows them around, and then so far nothing's come of it. But he's not giving up. The people who are part of that group are not giving up, and they're very confident that there's enough interest and that the city has given them enough freedom to pull together a deal. It just hasn't happened yet, but they are confident that they will.
I'm totally torn. I sit here, and this building is old, and it hasn't been used in 20 years. Right? It's got asbestos problems. We have a need for a mid-size concert venue, one that's below what the threshold is for what the FedEx Forum has, because the Grizzlies have a lock on that one. Just ask Presley Enterprises, and something that would be really nice. So there is a need for something like that. But how much would it cost to do that? And here's the other dilemma, because be honest with you, I've always thought, it's not being used. Tear it down. I didn't realize the price of tearing it down is $8 to $12 million. I mean, that's kind of crazy in its own right. So I don't really know what the answer totally is. You need that brilliant person who has not shown up yet that says, okay, I'll invest money and I'll make it this new arena, or I'll make it something that will fit with all the new things they've got there, between all the new venues that they're building for Liberty Park that include, all these AAU tournaments and stuff, whether it's included in that or it's a concert venue or something. It's got to fit, but there's got to be some opportunity, and somebody's got to do it, and it has to happen at least within the next 5 years, right? Yeah,
I would think so. My guess is, I would say 5 years is probably a pretty good guess, that if they don't have anything, if they're not any closer by then it might be, it might be a situation where they have to, take the loss and move on. But there are quite a bit of, quite a few people who want to see that happen now, who want to see it torn down and made into parking, or put a parking structure in its place, or whatever. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
It'll be interesting to see how Kendrick Davis works out, because I'll be honest with you, when he sent the transfer papers and signed and everything was all delivered and the great story about Desmond Bain and being teammates and going to work out this, I thought he was coming until I read your story, I guess yesterday, that, he's going to make his final decision about being in the draft or not today. I didn't realize he could actually not come.
Yeah, my gut honestly tells me that this is just this, like, there's not a whole lot of suspense here. That's what my gut tells me. I think if I was in his shoes, I would probably try to create a little bit of drama. To
get more NIL money? I mean, is that part of it?
I don't know. I honestly don't know the motivation. I mean, he according to him, he has had more than a handful of meetings with interviews / workouts with NBA teams, and so maybe there is something for him to think about. Maybe here in the last week or 2 weeks, he's met with somebody who has given him a reason to pause and have to make a decision. But again, I think that I've spoken with him a couple of times in the last 2-3 days, and I don't get the sense that and then based on the conversations that I've had with him before, I don't get the sense that this is going to be a deal that's going to go sour. That's going to go south. I think this is just a guy who enjoys moments, and I think this might just be another one that's been worked up. I still think he ends up at Memphis. Matter of fact, I just as I was on hold waiting for you to bring me on, I received a message from him. I had asked him what time today he was going to announce, and I haven't told anybody this. You're the first person I'm telling. He says 6:30 tonight is when he is going to make something official. And again, my gut tells me it's going to be Memphis.
I hope so, because with him and Williams and Quinones, that triumvirate there, that could make this season incredibly interesting. And I think it's fortuitous for him if in your article you point out at this moment, if he were to even get drafted, it would be late second round. And I think great showing here with those two guys, he could propel himself possibly into the first round, and that's guaranteed money. So where he stands now is not. So take the NIL, get better here, and it could be a fun year for all of us. What's the story with Larry Brown? It seems like I ask you every week. I know he was in town. Penny has a history of not hiring his assistants till late, but what's your sense on that? What's your gut?
Well, so when, a couple weeks back, as we were approaching, as we were talking about it a few weeks back, I looked over the contract and I saw that, it expired on April 30th. And so that date came and went. We hadn't heard anything. And I was like, I assumed that meant that a decision had not necessarily been made one way or the other, but that he was technically not under contract anymore. Well, that is not the case. I looked a little more closely at the contract, and there's a provision that says if April 30th comes and goes and there's not a new deal, it automatically rolls over month to month. And that can go on for as long as 5 years, according to the contract. Like he can be on a month to month situation. Like he's still getting paid. He's still doing work.
I don't think he needs the money, honestly. Do you?
No, yeah, of course not. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, from a technical standpoint, the university is still employing Larry Brown. Just because the initial period on his contract expired on April 30th, he hasn't been let go and he hasn't quit. So he is still working for the university and still getting paid by the University of Memphis. And so, but other than that, I haven't heard anything one way or the other still. And as you pointed out, and as I pointed out in the story that I wrote earlier this week, Penny is notorious for waiting to make personnel decisions, staff decisions. And I gave a few examples. Cody Topper, I think, was hired in June when he was hired. His strength coaches, the past couple of times he's hired strength coaches, that's gone on into August. So he that's just how he operates. I think we've Rashid was hired last August. Jermaine Johnson 2 years ago was hired in November. Now that was a bit of a extenuating circumstances because the season didn't start on time due to COVID. But yeah, like he just has no issue waiting to fill the positions, fill the vacancies, and so I expect that to continue.
I wouldn't be shocked either if Larry, who will be 82 when the next season begins, if he changed his role a little bit and maybe was more part-time but still with the staff. I think that possibility is in there, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, last thing, 30 seconds. Do you expect any announcements other than Kendrick Davis tonight in regards to transfers this week?
I don't. I haven't been given any indication of that. I know they are still working and they're still involved with people, but I don't think that there's anything imminent.
All right, my friend. Have a great week. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Wolo.
That's our guy, Jason Munz from the Commercial Appeal. He is brought to you in part by the Spirit Shop. Weekend's almost here, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to stock back up. We got PGAs to watch. We got all kinds of things to watch. It's a perfect place to go and find yourself some Poppy's Pills, maybe some Old Dominic. He got all the local stuff at the Spirit Shop. Poplar and St. Nick, Little Log Cabin, right down from Clark Tower. You've passed it by a million times. There's so much in there. Rare wines, bargain wines, same thing with vodka, tequila. You name it. You could even ask him for a specific kind of chip that might go with the Spirit or a rub to rim a glass. He's got it all. He's got everything in that place. And service, and they love to educate and talk and tell stories. You'll love everything you see at Poplar and St. Nick, 4848 Poplar Avenue in East Memphis since 1969. Eddie Connor's Spirit Shop. It's the place to go. Andy Schiffman in Chicago on the NBA. He comes your way in just a minute.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Yes, I work out every day. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Mark's Bensdorf Realtors. When I go to the gym, I think about real estate. Not really. I think about which exercises will take the poundage from the chocolate cake off the quickest. Then it dawns on me. Golf is the absolute best exercise. Swinging those heavy clubs, those heavy golf balls and tees, and climbing into and out of the golf cart. It's a good thought, but not realistic. Just like I overheard today, someone said the real estate market is so good that they're going to sell their home themselves. While it might occasionally work, you could end up tying your home up for weeks or months while your neighbor's home sold in 30 days because they listed with me. If you're thinking of selling, before you think you can do it yourself, talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers and make sure I am one of them. Find out why people say that when you want the job done, call Shell Dunn. That's Shell Dunn Rosengarten at 483-0546 or MemphisRelocate.com. That's MemphisRelocate.com or 483-0546.
The weather and the deals are heating up over at Gossett Kia Covington Pike, and we're ready to put you in a new ride today. Take your pick. 2022 Kia Forte LXS 39 MPG Highway, $219 a month, $27.99 due at signing. Or get 2022 Kia Soul LX $219 a month, $29.99 due at signing, both 36-month lease. And third row seating with 2022 Kia Sorento LX $315 a month, 36-month lease, $34.99 due at signing. Plus peace of mind with Kia's 10-year 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Come see Bobby J. He'll put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike. Online, KiaCovingtonPike.com.
If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars.
All 36-month leases. Forte NE 483,548. MSRP 21,435. Soul N 7833,273. MSRP 21,140. Sorento NG 116657. MSRP 31,290. Includes all rebates and incentives. Must finance through Kia. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. See dealer for complete details. Offer valid through 5/31/22. Dealer stock only. Warranties a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
Are you tired of living paycheck to paycheck? Do you have nightmares about your finances? Are you struggling to save for emergencies? Are you wanting to buy a home and not sure how to get the funds to do so? Well, it's time to get a handle on your finances with a personalized session with Nicasia, your money coach and certified personal financial counselor with Tate Enterprise. She is available to help you create your vision of financial freedom. It all starts by booking your session today at NicasiaTate.com. That's NAKASIA Tate.com.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We always end our week with Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports in Chicago. And we go to the Windy City, and Andy Schiffman, summer's arrived for the Memphis Grizzlies. What do you think are their 2 or 3 top priorities this off season where they could create a lot of space for the cap if they needed? They got a extension, which will probably be a supermax on Ja. They could be discussing things with you, with Brandon Clark. I don't want to put you in a sensitive position, but that's on the table too. Good morning.
Morning, Dave. Yep, the Grizzlies got a lot of positions and players and issues to address this summer, and with their salary cap situation, they could be in a position to operate under the cap, which could give them flexibility to spend potentially more than what's called the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, which runs at around $10 million, give or take, per season on a 4-year potential deal. Or if they retain a lot of their free agents, then they will have that non-taxpayer mid-level, so they could spend around, like I said, up to around $10 million per year on a player. They could use that on multiple players and divide it up, and they can always obviously round out their roster with minimum signings. So they are in a pretty positive position given the success they've just had and the fact that they're not a tax-paying team just yet. That definitely benefits the Grizzlies in this offseason. To your point, they're going to have some players to address. They're going, obviously, more than likely just to hand a supermax extension to Ja Morant, deservedly so. Brandon Clark, one of my guys, is up for an extension. We'll see how those discussions progress as we move forward into the offseason. I know, obviously, Brandon's very happy in Memphis, and they're very happy with him. And then you have different players, guys like Tyus Jones, that I think, in my opinion, not representing Tyus, I think he is a priority to stay in Memphis. I think what he's done, the fact that he's got such outstanding assist to turnover ratio, he is one of the best backup point guards in the NBA when those players are hard to come by, and obviously as free agents, getting those sort of players to Memphis is even more difficult. So I think he's a priority to retain. I'm not exactly sure off the top of my head some of the other free agents they have, but I know they're going to have a lot of decisions to make, let's say, as they go down their roster. So I think the best thing they can do is just try and keep this core together. You've got 3 draft picks. I think they're picking twice in the 20s right now, Dave. I think you could potentially, depending on the number of available roster spots you're going to have, try and package those 2 picks to move up and get a top 17, 18 pick, add another nice young piece. They got a great pick last year in Zaire Williams, and a lot of people questioned them picking him at 10. I think he was a very valuable pick for them and stepped up in a lot of ways as a rookie this year that a lot of people a year ago probably did not foresee. So they're in a good position.
Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson are the 2 unrestricted free agents. Your comments about Jones, and I'm in agreement with you. I would make him a priority because I just remember all the years that everybody kept saying, oh, if Mike Conley only had a backup point guard. Well, you got Ja. You're going to sign him to the Supermax, whatever that is, 217 or 181, I guess, are the 2, depending on what All-Star teams he makes. It's a little bit out of the Grizzlies' control, but they're going to pay him whatever the dollar is they have to pay him. But what do you do with Jones when he says, well, I really want to be a starting point guard? I guess you got to make the money as good as a starting point guard somewhere.
Well, look, in free agency, and I remember the Grizzlies did this years ago when they kept Rudy Gay. If you really value a player, let's say the Grizzlies really, really value Tyus, you're going to have to pay a premium to keep him off the market, because the last thing you want to do is run the risk of losing him for nothing when he's obviously been a valuable member of this team, a key rotational player. And so on the Grizzlies side, I think you have to recognize that you have to pay a little bit more to keep him in a Memphis Grizzlies uniform. And there are also some mechanisms that the Grizzlies have available where they can pay him more than another team, because he's been with the Grizzlies now for, I believe, 3 years. It's called the Larry Bird exception, which gives them an advantage to keep their own player and give him more money. And if you're Tyus's agent, look, the reality is there's probably going to be about 4 or 5 teams with enough salary cap room to pay Tyus as a starting point guard and to pay him more what Memphis might pay him. And if you're Tyus's agent, you need to know his market, and you need to know, do we roll the dice? And if Memphis comes with something, do we turn that down because we think we can get more? Do I have another team out there with salary cap room that has told me they want to spend the majority of their salary cap room on Tyus? And if you don't feel like you have that, then I think he's already had so much success with Memphis. Obviously, try and get a great deal for Tyus to stay in Memphis. Try and potentially structure it with flexibility. Maybe you want to be a free agent this time next year and have something like a player option where you could potentially have flexibility to test the market or stay in Memphis at your own volition, if Memphis would do that, which is all left up to the discussions with Tyus's agent. So it'll be interesting to see. I think there is something to be said for, look, you're on a winning team. You're used in a great way. I think Tyus, I would imagine he's very happy there with his role. I don't know if someone looked at him as a starting point guard and would pay him as a starting point guard. I do not know, not being his agent.
Right. Do you read between the lines when Zach Kleiman said, we won't worry, you'll never have to worry about money and retention of players right now with this team? Is that basically him echoing Robert Pera, basically saying we'll go into the luxury tax to keep this team at a championship level?
I don't know the conversations that Zach has had with Robert, Dave, but is Zach, knowing Zach, he's going to come out and say that publicly. I would have to believe that Robert Pera at some point intimated we're going to spend whatever we have to spend, even if that puts us in the tax, which it very likely could when these extensions start kicking in the future. I don't believe Zach would just go out on the whim and say that and then have to retrace his steps and pull back if all of a sudden they're not signing players to extensions or not going after free agents because they do not want to be a tax team. So I have to believe, like you said, that probably something was said like that.
That is really encouraging. All right, real quick, we've only got about a minute and a half. The two series, Boston in a big way rebounded, I should say, in a resounding way and beat the heck last night out of Miami in Miami. So now they still home court advantage. Is that series over? And tonight, Dallas, which got shut down big time, the other night by Golden State. Is that series over? Where's your head with these two teams?
Well, I think it's much too early to say these series are over. I think Miami is a very, very good team. Boston shot over 50% from the field last night, over 50% from three, and 90% from the free throw line, and just played phenomenal basketball. And you and I have been talking about it for the last month and a half. I've said Boston has so much momentum.
Yeah.
They're very good defensively. So I think Miami is going to get one more, but I still think Boston's going to win that series. And look, Golden State and Dallas, Golden State is clicking on all cylinders right now. And on the flip side of what Boston did last night, Dallas was 11, I think, for 48 from three. And you see how crucial and integral three-point shooting is in both of these series. I think Dallas is going to have a tough time. I would not be shocked if Golden State runs the table and wins the next three to advance to the Western Conference, to advance to the finals. I would not be shocked, not to say Dallas can't win one, but Golden State, you saw it against Memphis. They can kind of play the cat and mouse game for about 3.5 quarters, and all of a sudden just go on this 12-0 run to put you away. I've never seen something like it with a team.
Now, I'll remind you that in Game 5, they were down by 55 points at one point. So who knows? It's crazy, but I tend to agree with you on all of that. We'll talk next week, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Dave.
That is our agent in Chicago. That is Andy Schiffman from Priority Sports. He's brought to you in part by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Oh, these guys, they've been around a long time, and there's a reason. They take care of you. They have that Super Saver 16-point tune-up that makes the life of your system go longer. It makes your MLGW bill go down, and it makes sure that this summer your house is cool. That Super Saver tune-up right now, by the way, also includes a Freon check. So they take care of everything. 16 points inside. They make it harmonious. Then outside they go and get whether it's 1 or 2 units. My house has 2 units. They will get all the dirt and the grime and the leaves out. I mean, your house is cool. It's efficient. It really will make your system last longer. All you got to do is call 384-3511 Conway Services. We thank Paul Rogers, and he likes Epicenter in the Preakness. Jason Munz and Andy Schiffman. We'll see you on Monday. Johnny Radio's next.
I know the sweetest